putting it out into the universe now that these are the 10 series that I am going to prioritize in 2026. None of these are new series, by the way. These are all backlist fantasy sci-fi that either I haven't started, have started, just need to complete, catch up on. But most of these are all completed series, and it was very hard to narrow it down to these 10 and not just keep adding things. There were so many I could add. I would love to hold them all up for you as we go along and say like this one, but I don't own some of these, which is, yeah, maybe I shouldn't have put them on my priority list, but you'll understand as they are what they are, because the first one I'm going to talk about, that these are not in the starting order at all, I don't know which order I might try to pick these up in, is going to be The Dandelion Dynasty by Ken Liu. This is a 4-book completed series that starts with The Grace of Kings. It's been said that it is kind of a Chinese history retelling, but in a fantasy world, so a lot of politics and world building and defining a new form of the genre called silk punk. They're apparently silk-wrapped dirigibles and so much, but this is a very beloved series that I really, really want to get to. Really want to try. And I could say it's only 4 books, but they are all massive, massive books. Next up on the list, I can't actually hold up, and that would be the Final Architecture Trilogy by Adrian Tchaikovsky. This is a sci-fi, I think space opera story where we are kind of up against aliens. It says Idris used to be a war hero, a fighting elite, technology enhanced not only to be stronger, faster, and near immortal, but to communicate mind to mind with Earth's mysterious alien enemies known as the Architects. Then the Architects simply disappeared, and Idris and his kind became obsolete. Now, 50 years later, Idris and his crew have found something strange abandoned in space. Have their enemies finally returned? If so, why? Next up would be another chunky book and also part of a trilogy. That would be The Shadows of What Was Lost by James Islington. This is the first book in the Lycaonish trilogy. I could have put The Will of the Many on here, but I really want to do this series first before starting his newer one. And this way, if he does come out with book 3 in that series next November, since that seems to be his schedule of putting them out, then I could catch up with that one before the 3rd book and I would be on time with everybody else for once. I'm not going to say that though. We're going to read this trilogy. I have the first book, I have the first book's audiobook, I think I have the second book's audiobook too. The journey aspect of the first book, the magic system and the lost history kind of it, because the people in power were kind of thrown down and now they found out that they needed those people. Well, they're not just people in power, they had specific powers, but that's outlawed and they're kind of all extinct almost. And a journey system and saving the world. It was comped to Wheel of Time. So yes, as my favorite series, I really want to try the one that seems a lot like it. What was the other comp title? I don't really remember. The next series to try to start would be the Drowning Empire series by Andrea Stewart, the first one being The Bone Shard Daughter, which I wanted to try this one since I read her other series that is still ongoing, and hopefully I will catch up on that one before the next one comes, the final one, right? I think that was a trilogy too. The final one comes out next fall. So this would be perfect to read this trilogy in the meantime, even though she has stated that they are completely different kind of in work style, like the way she wrote them was different. In this one, they have bone magic. Like the Emperor takes chunks of bones from all the subjects, they willingly give it, and he etches into them and it creates these creations. And we are following though the daughter of the Emperor who doesn't have the memories she's supposed to have, and I think the Emperor is dying, but he doesn't recognize his rule is failing, revolution sweeping across the lands, and the Emperor refuses to recognize his daughter as the heir to the throne. The next one is one of those that I do not own, but it is another completed trilogy, because trilogies are dominating this list, that is a sci-fi that has just sounded really cool since I first heard about the first book, and the last book came out in October, I want to say, this year. That is the Rages trilogy by Kritika H. Rao. The first book was The Surviving Sky. High above a jungle planet float the last refugees of humanity, plant-made civilizations held together by tradition, technology, and arcane science. Here, architects are revered deeply with humanity's survival reliant on a privileged few. If not for their abilities, the cities would plunge into the devastating earth rage storms below. And it follows a husband and wife duo who the husband is the architect and the wife is an archaeologist. And archaeologists are kind of looked down on by the science-fueled architects. And their marriage is already kind of strained, and then something happens that puts this whole city in danger. And through the series, they find out more things about, like, maybe everything's not exactly as they thought it was going to be, or as what they believed about their stuff, their city. Finally would be the Shades of Magic trilogy by V.E. Schwab. The first book in this one is a darker shade of magic. In this one, it takes place across 3 different Londons, I think. There's Red London, Black London, and White London? Or was there gray? And we're following, I think, just the one person who is an ambassador because he has the rare form of magic to where he can travel between the parallel worlds and take communications between the various leaders of each of the ones. However, he's also a smuggler and works for people on the side, and I don't know much more than that, but I know a lot of people have enjoyed this series, and so this is one that I keep meaning to, and it's like more urban fantasy-ish too, so that would be a good twist update thing from all the epic fantasies. I said finally on that one, and that was not the last one. The last series, last but certainly not least, and possibly the one that will be hardest to do, and the one that makes me the most nervous, is going to be Malazan. We shall start Malazan Book of the Fallen by Steven Erikson in 2026. The first book is, of course, Gardens of the Moon of the 10-book saga that is Malazan Book of the Fallen. There is another series started that takes place after this. I don't entirely know how they're connected, but I do know that he has already started working on more books in this world. But the main series is 10 books long, and that's a lot, and I have heard such daunting things about it, but also that everybody loves it. That it's very dark, but it throws you in, and it's a little confusing because it throws you into the action and you have to put the pieces together. And the first book, Gardens of the Moon, will follow certain characters that you don't see in book 2, but then the next book they are, and like it flip-flops what side of the world you're on per continent and which characters you get in the different books. The final 3 series on this list are ones that I have technically already started before. I just need to catch up / complete them. The first one up would be, like the urban fantasy we mentioned before, is The Dresden Files by Jem Butcher. I think I've made it to book 6, I think. And the first book is, of course, Stormfront. This follows Harry Dresden, a wizard investigator for hire in Chicago. And there are high wizard councils because he lets people know about magic, and of course they shouldn't. And werewolves and vampires and fae, including Harry's godmother. And it starts out pretty simple, just police investigations, but gradually things have already grown, and I hear that they continue to grow in the scope of the magicalness of like the interworkings of things and not just investigations. The next one is another ongoing series, though it only has one more book set to come out and then it'll be finished, which may or may not release in 2026. There isn't a date yet for it as far as I know. I've only read the first book, but after seeing the last book and reading a little bit about what it's about, I want to continue now. I was debating it from book 2 and 3, but book 4, I'm like, I probably should continue this one. The first book was alright. I had a good enough time with it. It was not exactly what I was expecting. That would be the Moonfall series by James Rollins, the first book being The Starless Crown. This one is following a group of characters, I think 3 characters, on a tidally locked planet where one side is always burning and the other one is frigid cold. So people live in the median equator with one kingdom pretty much on the bottom and another at the top. But they notice something. The moon that orbits the planet seems to be getting bigger and bigger. That's the title of the series, Moonfall. And I know you are following a girl that I can't remember what teenage years she is, but she is blind at this special school, and like she picks up on this thing, but that puts her in danger. And the prince, who's kind of like the spare heir, has to escort her on this mission and also kind of be on the run from people trying to kill him. Then in a wholly different location, you are following a thief who gets in way over his head and finds a priceless artifact from a time long before. And yeah, it might just be those three, though I think maybe there was a fourth one that I don't remember. I feel like I'm talking about some of them more than others as I remember things maybe more. I don't know. The final series is another one to catch up with, but this one is concluded, and that would be The Expanse series by James S.A. Corey. I've read the first 2 books. So I'm technically at Abaddon's Gate, but it's been more over a year, so maybe I restart the whole series. I'm really thinking about that. I'm really thinking about just restarting the whole series from scratch and doing it that way. And finding out what happens at the end of the series. That is really what I want to do. I want to get to the end and find out what happens. So I'm going to restart the series in 2026. There's enough months. I could do one a month and not burn myself out probably. Especially if I'm also reading giant fantasy books at the same time. We're going to find out how that's going to go. Those are the 10 that I wish to prioritize above everything else. Will there be other things that probably make it onto the list? Of course. But these, at least one of them is getting completed next year. 1 to 2, unless something just completely hooks me and takes over my full mind and attention, and it's best of luck, may the odds be ever in all of the other one's favor at that point. I would love to know though which book series are going to make it to your priority list next year, or just individual books. If there's any standalones that are like, this is my book next year, no matter what happens, if this is the only book, it's going to be that one. Let me know in the comments what you're thinking, and if you don't feel like chatting though and you just want to support the channel, you can leave a firework emoji for the new year, or New Year's emoji. I'm sure there's one that does something. If you enjoyed this video, maybe you'll want to check out some of the other ones and subscribe to stay tuned for more videos. I hope you are having a fabulous day, finding something great to read, and that I will see you in the next one.